It's no wonder Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, says, "My biggest competitor of all is sleep." And as that quote continues, he then says, "And we're winning." The problem, though, for Reed and for me, is we're losing. We're losing. You know why? Because our brains are programmed to look for finite. We are used to looking for stopping points. We have had 200,000 years of evolutionary history looking for things that end, right? We scrounge till we find, and then we're done. You want to read a newspaper? You open it up on the front page, you flip through till the end, then it's over. There's no more news till tomorrow. It's not just scrolling in every elevator corner, it's just over. Remember how you used to watch a TV show? It's Thursday night at 9, you turn on the TV show, it's over. You gotta wait a whole week. Or sometimes the whole summer, right? Our brains are looking for finite. We trust finite. We want things that end, okay? In an era of infinite choice, the value of curation skyrockets. The research agrees with this as well. Sheena Iyengar over at Stanford University took a study with Procter & Gamble of all the Head & Shoulders varieties on display. When she chopped them in half, guess what happened? Sales spiked. Daniel Gilbert at Harvard University has a really famous phrase, I love it, it's called the unanticipated joy of being totally stuck. He's written a number of incredible books all about happiness. He has this interesting thesis that we all want to go to the movie theater with the most movies playing. We want the restaurant with the biggest menu, but actually we don't, because we are happier and more trusting of the ones that have one movie playing or have a tasting menu that you don't got to pick anything, right? In an era of infinite choice, the value of curation skyrockets. What do I mean? Last week I thought about buying a new laptop. So I go to hewlettpackard.com. I want to look at laptops. How many they got for sale? Over 250. There's work laptops and play laptops and gaming laptops and heavy duty and light. It's too much. It's overwhelming. So I go over to Apple. They got 6. They got 6. Woo from the 2 guys that work at Apple in the corner. I love that. Or maybe they're just internally disgruntled folks at Hewlett-Packard. One of the two. You ever been in a McDonald's drive-thru and the Dodge Caravan in front of you doesn't move forward? You're like, what are they doing? By the way, I don't know why it's always a Dodge Caravan. Is that just a Toronto thing? I don't know. It's always a Dodge Caravan. And you know why they're not moving? Because of this. It's overwhelming. What are you going to get? Now you got breakfast at dinner? It's too much. You want an In-N-Out experience? Go to In-N-Out. 5 things on the menu. You're in, you're out, you're done. 10 years ago, I actually stumbled upon this idea of building trust when I started a blog called 1000awesomethings.com during a really tough part of my life. I was going through an awful year, a terrible year, going through a divorce, and I lost a close friend due to suicide. And I wrote this blog just to cheer myself up. I thought, for 1,000 straight weekdays, let me write down one good thing, right? Old, dangerous playground equipment is awesome. The next day I come home, I write about the smell of bakery air. The next day I come home, I write about finally peeing after holding it forever. And I was doing it for the awesome things, but over time I realized that the actual magic of this website was actually the 1,000. By having a finite number, I slowly earned the trust of an audience. By the time the blog was done 4 years later, 1 million people were reading it every single month. I announced the #1 awesome thing live on the national news. It's magical because I had to be more curating as the blog went on. I had more ideas submitted to me, and I had less time and less blog posts left to do them. So arguably, the quality went up over time. So I copied my own model more recently when I decided to do a new project, searching for the 1,000 most formative books in the world. Again, I'm going to look for 1,000. I'm going to release it as a podcast called 3 Books. And every single time I sit down with one of 333 of the world's most inspiring people, I'm going to ask them which 3 books changed their life. Like 1,000 Awesome Things, it has an end date. This one ends on September 1st, 2031. It's not every weekday, it's every exact minute of every full moon and every new moon, because it takes 2 weeks to actually read people's 3 books and fly to them and talk to them about it. But the idea is the same, finite over infinite. In an era of infinite choice, the value of curation skyrockets. I honestly think this is partly why, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get like this awkward, stressful, untrustworthy feeling with all these infinitely long subscriptions that I have. You know, first I signed up for $10 for movies, $10 for music, to $5 for this website, $5 for that website, this much for Dropbox, this much for Google Drive, whatever, all this stuff. And then suddenly it's like, at some point you just notice, A, your credit card bill is really high. And B, when you think to yourself, when's it going to end? You're like, oh, it's infinity. The whole idea is that this thing never ends. It starts to feel a little bit overwhelming. I actually think this is part of the reason why things like I mentioned earlier, tasting menus, chef's menus, are going up, right? The popularity of them is going up. And maybe why over the last 6 years, during what we call the retail apocalypse here in the States, when Amazon took over the book industry and they have 200 million books and they're always the cheapest, why over that exact same 6-year stretch, the number of independent, curated, finite bookstores spiked by 40%. Props to independent bookstores for anyone in the room that's a fan, like me. So the number one thing I want to show you and talk to you about trust on this wheel of trust, this circle of trust, this thing of trust, I don't know what it's called yet, I love your thoughts on it, is finite over infinite.